All right, so it looks like we are live. We're ready to roll. Okay, cool. So you checking audio and everything else? We good? Okay, cool. Guys, today it is System Saturday, the day that I bring you systems that I use in my business that you can rip off, duplicate, use right into your own local market. Now, what we're going to talk about on today's System Saturday live show is the two different pricing formulas to buy and to sell your wholesale deals for. So this is very, very important. So, obviously when you are taking a property to the market, when you are wholesaling a deal, you should be going out there and getting the maximum amount of profit for that deal and not leaving any profit on the table for anybody else. However, at the same time, you should be giving this thing away for a very, very good price to where the person that you're wholesaling this deal to is getting a great deal, and they're going to keep coming back to you over and over and over again, looking for a great real estate deal. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do you price these things, and how do you buy these things so that you can go out there and maximize your profits and keep your buyers coming back for more and more and more? So what is wholesaling? What is wholesaling? Well, there's two different ways to wholesale real estate, okay? The first way is the assignment, okay? Now, the assignment is very, very simple. This is when you put a property under contract at a deep discount, and then what you do is you now have that property under contract. So you've got a contract on that property. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to go out there and you're going to sell that contract to another real estate investor. So somebody is going to step directly into your shoes. They're going to enter into that same exact contract that you entered into, and they're going to enter into the same agreement that you did, but now you are out of that property, okay? So you're out of that agreement. So in exchange for you getting out of that agreement for putting a great deal under contract, this buyer is going to go out there and they are going to pay you a fee. They're going to pay you to go out there and buy that contract off of you. Now, this could be anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000 to $10,000 to whatever amount of money, on that assignment deal. Now, typically, investors, they love these assignment deals because they don't have any money out of their pocket, not much money out of their pocket. They don't have much risk. They don't have to be a real estate licensed realtor or anything like that. And that's why they like these deals. That's why that's very, very attractive. However, this is not all you can do as a real estate investor when you're wholesaling real estate. And that's not the only thing that you should be doing as a wholesaler. You cannot just go out there and assign deals all day long, because you also have to, show that you are a real estate investor and you double close your wholesaling deals too. So we do both strategies. We assign the deals over to other investors, but then we double close these deals as well, meaning that we take time, we put a great deal under contract. We will buy that property, we will have funding, and we will buy that property, and then we will quickly resell that property to another real estate investor. Now, I like both strategies, and the double close method should be used on your fatter profit deals, okay? So you should be using those on your fatter profit deals, and I'll do future System Saturdays of why you should be wholesaling, doing the double close method on your fatter profit deals, okay? So that's what wholesaling is in a nutshell. It's when you're taking a property that you're buying at a discount and then you're selling it to another investor, whether you're going to wholesale this thing and assign it, or whether you're going to do a double close on this wholesale deal, okay? So here's where the magic comes in. Let's say that you go out and you found a great wholesaling deal. Maybe you used our system to find this great wholesaling deal, but you found a great wholesaling deal. Or let's just say that you found a potential wholesale deal that you want to go out there and sell to another real estate investor. So you go out and you put this deal under contract, and it's like, what do you put it under contract for? How much are you going to be selling this property for? What is your due diligence going to be on these deals? Okay, so it's very simple. So how do you come up with the pricing? And we actually work this backwards. We don't work with what we're going to buy this thing first. What we do is we work with what are we going to sell this property for first. That's what we work up first, okay? So this is very, very, very simple, and I'm going to break this down for you. In order to come up with what you're going to be selling your wholesale deals for, the very first thing that you need to do is you need to come up with, and I want you to write this down, you need to come up with the after repair value of that property. Okay, what is the ARV for that property? So there's 5 key places where you can look up and find out what other properties around the subject property are selling for. You could go into the MLS and look at comps in a 24-mile or in a quarter-mile radius of your subject property. You could look on redfin.com. You could look on iComps, which I'm going to take you into here in a second. You could look on Zillow and then realtor.com. And what you're really looking for is you're looking for all in a quarter-mile radius of that subject property, okay, in a quarter-mile radius of that property that you've got under contract. What are other properties that are similar going for retail? So if they're already fixed up, if everything is all good, what are they going to be going for? Are we good? So what are we going to be going for? So you look at these comps in a quarter-mile radius, and it's very simple. What would this thing sell for retail? What would it sell for retail? What are the average bedroom? What are the bedrooms selling for? How many average bathrooms do these properties have? What is the average square footage of all these properties? And you need to know what this thing is going to be sold for at the retail price to a retail buyer. So I'm going to take you inside of my iComps account, and I'm going to just kind of give you the quick and dirty of how to do this. Okay, so when we get into here, I'm going to go into this property. This is a current property that we have right now inside of our business. Now, when you look at this is 9071 South Normandy Drive. This is a property that we just bought last week, okay? Now, when I look at this and when I'm trying to determine the after repair value on this property, what I'm doing is very simple. I'm taking my subject property and I'm looking at the bedrooms, the bathrooms, and then I'm looking at the square footage and when this property was built. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a quarter mile around this property. So if you look right here onto the map, right here, this big green pin, this is my subject property. Okay, so all these other pins right here are all the other properties that have recently sold around this property within the past year. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm interested in these properties. Here's one property right here. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,200 square foot, sold for $205,000, and it did it back in July. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go right straight to this property on Normandy because I do see 2 properties, here on Normandy, and I'm going to try to pinpoint these other properties on the same exact street that might match my subject property. Okay, so right here, I'm looking at 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot, and this one sold for $229,000. So if you look at my subject property is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot, built in 1978. So this is like my mother of all comps. It's on the same exact street, the same bedrooms, same bathrooms, pretty much the same square footage. It's right around the same time frame that my property was built at. So I know that this property is a great, phenomenal comp for my property, which is $229,000. So here's the other one on Normandy, 4-bed, 2-bath, 2,400 square foot, $236,000. So I pretty much know that my property is anywhere between the price range of $229,000 to, on the high side, maybe $240,000 right there. So I've established that my after repair value on this home is $230,000. It's $230,000. I could probably go up to, and I'm going to write this down. It's $230,000, and I can go up to $239,000 on this property. Okay. So now that I've established my after repair value of $230,000 on this property, all I'm doing is it's just very, very simple math from here. Okay. It's just very, very simple math. So what I do is, now that I've established, and again, there's 5 places to go out there and do find out what the after repair value is and find out what other properties are selling for into the area. There's the MLS, redfin.com, iComps, which I just took you inside of my account to show you how comps work within iComps, which I like. Zillow, you can look at past sales on Zillow, and then Realtor.com as well. Now, here's where the magic comes into this thing is because now that I've established that I'm going to be selling this thing, or that the after repair value on this home is $230,000, here's the formula. If you found out that after repair value came in under $300,000, which in this case it does, what you're going to do is you're going to take the after repair value, which again in this case is $230,000, and you're going to multiply it by 0.5, or same thing as divide it by 2, and that's going to give you $115,000, okay, in this particular case. So again, you take the after repair value divided by 2, and that equals what your selling price is, okay? And again, that is on a property that is below $300,000 for the after repair value. Now, if you're in an area like California or New York or Miami or anywhere where the after repair value is higher than $300,000, or even in my area in Ohio, you can absolutely have these properties that are above $300,000 as well. If that is the case, okay, so if that is the case, if we found out that the after repair value was over $300,000, what we're going to do is we're going to change this formula up a little bit, okay? Because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. If you've got a property in California that the after repair value is $1 million, you're probably not going to be able to, you're leaving too much, meat onto the bone. You're leaving too much profit onto the table for your buyer if you go and sell this thing at 50% of that after repair value. So what you want to do, and again, we're trying to leave a great spread for our rehabber or somebody that's going to be buying this thing for us. We've got to leave a great spread for them, a real deal that they're going to make money on so that they keep coming back to us, but we need to maximize our profits as well. So again, if it's over $300,000, we're going to change the formula on this to the after repair value, multiply that by 0.6, or you're taking 60% of that after repair value, and then what you're going to do is that is going to be your selling price. So for example, if you have a property for $475,000 after repair value, maybe you're in the Seattle area or San Diego or wherever it might be, it doesn't matter where you're at, but this after repair value is $475,000. Multiply that by 0.6, and you should be selling this property. Your sales price, what you're asking for this property, should be $285,000. Okay? So again, breaking this down very simply, if you find out that your after repair value is under $300,000, what you're going to do is you're going to take the after repair value, multiply that by 0.5. That's half of your after repair value, and that's what you need to be selling that property for as a wholesale deal. If your after repair value is above $300,000, well, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the after repair value, multiply by 0.4, and that's what you're going to be selling that property for. So that's what you're selling it for, okay? That's what you need to sell it for. So you've got a deal, you're working with the seller, and you're negotiating with the seller. Now that you know what you're going to sell this property for, again, that's what we start at. What are we going to sell this thing for? Well, now what you got to do is, well, what am I going to buy it for? What am I going to buy it for? Well, it doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. We've got to buy it cheaper than what we're selling it for, okay? So it's very, very simple. And I'll just tell you what I like to do. On wholesale deals, I like to make over $5,000 per deal. Okay, so I like to make $5,000 per wholesale deal or more on my deals. I don't like to get involved with wholesale deals that I'm either going to assign out or I'm going to double close. I do not like to do any type of deal like that where I've got a profit of $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000, because that's just not enough room. That's not enough room, because remember, when you're buying wholesale deals, you are not going out there and just putting properties under contract to just see what sticks and see if you can sell this thing. Oh, I couldn't sell this thing. Sorry, seller, I couldn't sell it. Sorry, I couldn't sell it. I'm sorry, I can't buy your property now because I couldn't sell it to my buyer. You have to understand that it is your duty, it is your fiduciary duty as a buyer of real estate, that if you're writing a property, if you're writing a contract onto that property, and whether you plan on signing this deal or whether you plan on double closing this deal, it doesn't matter. You have to go out there and perform. Because if you just go out there and start bailing on these sellers and writing contracts and just, well, I couldn't sell that one or whatnot, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to be good. Because what's going to happen is that seller thought that they entered into a contract with you, and then they're going to go out and be very, very irritated because you didn't perform on their property. See, that's the big disconnect with wholesaling. And that's the challenge that all investors across the entire United States, that's what they have, is because it's very simple that they go out there and they don't perform on a lot of these deals. So when you put a property under contract, you better have enough spread. You better know that this thing's a great deal. That's why you're doing the due diligence that you are, so that you know that you're either going to assign this property or double close it. And if you can't do either one of those, well, guess what you're going to do? You're going to rehab it, because we're not going to be bailing on any of these sellers. So again, I gave you the selling formulas, and I like personally to have at least a $5,000 profit, pure profit, on any wholesale deal that I do or more. So on that deal on Normandy that I just showed you, that wholesale profit is extremely large. It's about a $60,000 wholesale profit on that particular deal. Now let me talk about that deal here for a second, okay? So I gave you the selling formulas for properties when you're going to be wholesaling these properties out, whether you're going to assign or double close, depending on what the after repair value is. Keeping in mind that if it's under $300,000, it's going to be after repair value times 0.5, or if it's over $300,000, you're going to take after repair value times 0.6, and that's what you're going to sell these properties for, okay? Now, what I want you to understand and why that formula is what it is because we're working off real numbers. I do not want you to go out there and overinflate what the after repair value is. See, this is the biggest no-no. I could not tell you how many emails that I get from wholesalers on a daily basis. They're sending me these deals, and they send me these deals, and this property in their eyes, it's worth $200,000, but I know all day that I can only get 160 out of this thing. So that's the challenge with wholesalers and you got to be very careful if you're buying from wholesalers, because what they do is they overinflate the after repair value, and then they underestimate the repairs onto this property to make it look like a slamming wholesale deal. So that's how they draw people in. You're not going to do that. We don't do that. We make real numbers. We have a real business. We want to be in business forever. We want to go out there and have our buyers come to us and begging for these deals. That's why we use the formula that we do. That's why we don't overinflate the after repair value on any of these deals that we do, is because we are running a real business. Okay? So don't be that wholesaler. Okay? Nobody likes that wholesaler that does any of that stuff. I don't like that wholesaler. That wholesaler drives me nuts, okay? Because they don't know what they're doing. They are screwing over a lot of people out there. They're finding a sucker, and then that sucker will never go out there and buy from them again, because that sucker buys that property, and then what they'll do is they'll never buy a deal from that investor again. You want repeat buyers all of the time. So you better make sure that your after repair values and your estimates are very, very good. So what we try to do is our end buyer, we try to get them to come in somewhere around 70% loan to value, okay? Somewhere around 70% loan to value, have their all in so that they can make, a great spread on this, but then we do as well, okay? Now, there's going to be a time where you break this rule. Okay, so there's going to be a time where you go out there and you're going to break this formula that I just gave you. But before I give you the rule to break this whole thing, did you like this formula that I just gave you? So go in, comment in, let me know what you thought of that formula. Like this right now if you liked that type of formula for your business. Okay, so make sure that you go out there and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you when we can break that formula, okay? Very, very simple. This is on a deal that's called a wholesale, okay? And what you're doing is you're changing your buyer up with this. So, for example, in a wholesale deal, what are we doing? We're buying a property at a deep discount. We're putting that property under contract, and then we're wholesaling it. We're flipping that contract, or we're going out there and selling that property to another real estate investor who then is going to go out there and fix that property up, and then they're going to do all the repairs, and they're going to do all that stuff, okay? Now, there's another type of property that is also a wholesale deal, which just so happens to be the same deal that I just covered on Normandy. So I'm going to take you back to this deal on Normandy. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to this deal on Normandy because I want you to see this particular deal. So 9071 Normandy right here, and I'm going to pull this up right here on Zillow, just so that you guys can see this thing, because this is listed actually right now. This is it is fresh wholesale deal that we are doing right this second, okay? Now, this property, as you can see, this property, it's a nice property, okay? You can see that this is a very, very nice property. When you look at this, brick on the outside, this is in a school zone that is rated a 9 out of 10. The after repair value on this property is $230,000. This is in an area that is far above, what our average price is into our local area. This is a nice property. People beg for properties like this. Okay, so I know that on this deal, and oh, by the way, this deal does not need that much money involved in order to go and get this thing all fixed up to be worth that $230,000. So this deal only needs about $20,000 to $30,000 worth of work. It's right around $22,000 to be exact that this thing needs. So it's not a lot of money that this thing needs in order to get it up to the $230,000. Okay, so what we do on a deal like this is I look at, well, who is my buyer going to be? Since it doesn't need much work, would it be possible that my buyer would not be another real estate investor and my buyer would be a retail buyer? Would that be possible? And the answer is absolutely. So I'm going to change up my marketing when I sell this thing. I'm going to change up my marketing and just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start attracting a different type of buyer that's going to want to buy this property. And I'm going to attract a cash buyer, but they are a retail buyer, meaning that they are going to live in this property completely retail. Maybe it's a contractor. Maybe my end buyer is a contractor, or they've got a contractor in their family, but they're looking for a really, really, really great deal onto a property. So what I'm going to do in a deal like this that doesn't need much work, that is in a phenomenal area, because it doesn't need much work, and I can go out there and get a lot of people to this property very, very quickly. Actually, we have 9 showings as of today onto this property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to price this thing differently. Okay, I'm going to price this thing different than what I'd shared with you about that, because my buyers changed. I'm going to wholesale this deal off. Okay, so the after repair value is still $230,000, but here's how I'm going to look at this deal, because it doesn't need much work. I'm going to look at this deal as what would be a great deal for a buyer in this market that has cash that's going to live into this property. Well, what if I just choose that, if they want to have $30,000 of equity into the property, what if I go out there and what if I list this thing and, they're all in for $200,000? Well, that would be have a $30,000 difference in that property. That would be a great deal for somebody to go out there and have all into this property for $200,000. And then what they do is now they've got $30,000 of built-in equity because they found a great deal. And I can market this property very differently because of a deal like that. So then I just work this deal backwards. And I'll tell you what we did on this deal is I worked this deal backwards, and that was the exact number that I chose. Is I thought that it would be a great equity position for a buyer, and it'd be very sexy for somebody to have this entire property done, put $30,000 into this thing, and then probably pay cash for this thing, have their Uncle Bill or whoever's a contractor in their family fix this thing up, and then still have $30,000 of equity so that they can have an all-in of $200,000. So I just work the numbers backwards, and I want them to have an all-in of $200,000. It needs $30,000 in repair. So guess what I'm going to do? We listed this thing for $170,000. But again, it didn't need much work. It's going to be a great deal for somebody else. It shows very, very well. And it's what I call a sticker shock for the market. When you bring in a property for $170,000 into a market that's worth $230,000, it gets a lot of showings, and that's where you start to get those retail buyers that have cash, that have access to contractors that are going to want equity into this property, okay? So I call that the sticker shock property. That's exactly what we did. We went in and we listed this property for $170,000. If you guys can go and look at it up on Zillow right now. We listed this property for $170,000, giving somebody the ability to go and pay cash for this thing and put $30,000 into it to be all in for $200,000. And then they've got $30,000 with an equity in this thing. So what did we buy this property for? What did we buy this property for? Well, I make sure that I'm set up either way. If this doesn't work out, which I know that it's going to, but if this does not work out and sell this thing for $170,000, I need to be okay and still be able to go out there and maybe drop the price a little bit, or I need to be okay and be able to switch up my exit strategy and not wholesale this, but now I need to go out there and rehab this property, okay? So what we did was we put this property under contract for $110,000. So we have a $60,000 difference, a $60,000, and it's not going to be a true $60,000 profit, but we're probably going to be making about $52,000 on this particular deal just by wholetailing that deal off because it didn't need much work and all this other stuff. But again, let's look at the formulas of what I bought it for, because again, I need to make sure that I'm safe regardless if I don't sell this thing for the $170,000, even though I know that I will, or if I have to reduce the price a little bit, or if I need to rehab this property myself. So again, we bought it for $110,000. Okay, so $110,000, divide that by $230,000. So we bought this property at 48% LTV. Now, if I go in and stick to my formulas, I know that I'm safe because $230,000, multiply that by 0.5 because it's under $300,000. That means that I still bought this thing cheaper than what I could sell this thing for as a wholesale deal if it all came down to it. See, that's what I mean. You got to be safe into this market, and you got to be very, very selective about the deals that you do, and you got to know how to go out and price these things right to sell at the maximum price. So technically, there's 3 different ways to do this. You can go out and do and you can wholesale and do the after repair value times 0.5 if it's under $300,000, or if it's over $300,000, you're selling to a wholesale buyer or to another investor for the after repair value times 0.6 is what you're selling it for, and then you just got to buy that thing $5,000, $10,000 cheaper than what that price is. But again, if you don't need much, if this property does not need much work, you can wholesale this deal off, look for a retail buyer onto this thing, and go out there and get retail price out of it, which is exactly what I'm doing on the property on Normandy. Okay, so wholesaling is a killer strategy. Okay, it's one of my favorite strategies, especially into this real estate market that's very tricky. The market is at the top. Well, it makes a lot of sense to stay safe and wholesale while other investors don't have inventory. Well, all we got to do is we got to focus on finding the inventory. And when we find the inventory, we know that we're going to have built-in buyers. We know that we're going to have that very, very easily. So here's the problem with wholesaling, okay? Gurus don't teach wholesaling the correct and the full way. That's the truth. They don't teach this thing the full way. And what it does is it gives people a nasty feeling, a nasty gut feeling about wholesaling into this business. Okay, they just don't like wholesaling because they were taught incomplete wholesaling strategies. Okay, because a lot of people just don't teach this, or most of them, and I'm talking 99% of gurus out there, they don't teach a complete wholesale strategy. They don't teach the assignment from start to finish. They don't teach it. They don't know it. Okay, they don't teach it the right way, the legal way. And then the other part of this is most people, 99% of real estate investors, 99% of gurus out there that are teaching this stuff, they don't understand the assignment. They don't understand the assignment. If you're going to assign these deals off, they don't understand any of this stuff. Okay? You have to understand the assignment inside and out in order to be able to explain it to the seller, be able to explain it and find the buyer. You need to know the assignment inside and out so that you know the way to sell your assignment deals. How do you properly do this? And see, that's the other problem with wholesaling is so many investors all over throughout the entire country, they think that they can go out there and market a property. However, it doesn't matter because they've got a property to sell. They think that they can market it and do whatever they want, and they're marketing it illegally because they think that they own the property. They're marketing it like they own the property, and you cannot do that. They're doing dangerous activities on social. They're doing so many bad things when it comes to marketing these things that's putting them in very, very deep danger because they don't know the proper way to wholesale deals. They don't know the proper way to wholesale deals. They don't know the proper way to price these things. They don't know the proper way to sell these things, to market these things. They just do it the wrong way. So what I want to know is, guys, go into the chat box, which is below. Go into the chat box. Let me know what you thought of today's System Saturday Live. Give us a like if you like this topic and what we covered right here. Comment in. Let me know what you thought of this. I'm going to take a couple of questions, and I want it to pertain specifically towards wholesaling and the pricing of these properties. And then what I want you to do, and we're going to pin this to the top, okay, is we're going to do a webinar. Okay, so we're going to do a web class next Wednesday. Okay, so this upcoming Wednesday, we're going to do a web class at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's 3 o'clock Central, that's 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and that's 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so we're going to go out there and pin this comment to the top, and you guys can go and register right now for this webinar to get the entire blueprint of how to do this. So you want to go to thewholsalingblueprint.com. Okay, so we need to write that into the comment box, and we need to pin that to the top. Okay, so write that into the comment box, pin that to the top, and you guys can go and register right now for that web class, and then I'm going to take a couple of questions. So go to thewholsalingblueprint.com, and we're going to show you the ugly with wholesaling, but then we're going to show you the right way to wholesale. What is the legal way, the powerful way, the more profitable way to do this? So I'm going to bring on my attorney, Jeff Watson, onto the line, and he's going to go out there and teach you behind the scenes of how to wholesale the legal way. And I'll tell you guys this, the legal way to wholesale properties is the more profitable way. You're not going to have your pit into your stomach after this web class, and you're going to walk out next Wednesday and be a very, very strong wholesaler. You're going to walk out knowing exactly how to wholesale your deals off. So every single person that is on the line right now, you guys should be going to thewholsalingblueprint.com and registering for that web class, because we're going to take you through it all, the entire blueprint of how to wholesale the right way, and then what so many people are doing the wrong way, so that you know exactly how to be very, very profitable on these deals. Okay? Okay, so let me get to the actual page and let me look at some of these comments. Or are people commenting in? Are they? Do they have questions for me? What are some of the questions that they have? How do you find retail cash buyers for wholesale deals? Very simple. We're into the market right now to where the market is very forgiving. Okay, the market is very, very forgiving. So the best way to do it, list it right onto the MLS. You can also do all types of other stuff. You can do Craigslist, you can do the MLS, you can do Facebook, You can shoot a video on YouTube. You could do a live like I'm doing right now, walking through the property and attracting the right people to it, boosting that particular video directly right on Facebook. There's so many ways to do it, but I'll tell you, do the research on the property that I just gave you and just do the research on the marketing that we did. But I'll tell you, one of the best ways to do it is straight onto the MLS on a retail deal like that. Okay. What else?
Do you ever determine ARV based off additions or pop tops, or do you base your numbers off existing square foot?
So do we ever base our after repair value off of what?
Additions or pop tops?
Do we ever base our after repair value and take in consideration of additions or anything else? And the answer is absolutely. So we look at the year that it was built, was there any addition built or anything like that, and then we look at the square footage of this thing. Do they add another bedroom, bath, or whatever it is? And then absolutely, you have to look at all those other things, those other factors when you're determining that after repair value. And I'll tell you what, one of the easiest ways and the best ways to go out and do this, it's not difficult, guys. The quick and dirty way to do this is just go straight to Zillow.com. Okay, so just go straight to Zillow.com. Find out what their Zestimate is. Go to iComps.com. Okay, right inside of your Buyers on Fire account, or go to Realtor.com and find out exactly what their Zestimate is of that property. And there's a great starting point. There's a great starting point. That doesn't mean that's what it's going to be, but that's just a great starting point for what this property could be worth for the after repair value. Okay, so I'm going to look at a couple other ones. Do you use repairs in the formula for the pricing? And no, we don't. That's actually just built in to that formula that I gave you, the 50%. Because when you look at it, let's take a property for $100,000. Well, we're going to use that formula for 0.5. We're going to take half of it. So we need to sell this property for $100,000, and we need to sell this thing for $50,000. So we got to put this thing under contract into the mid-30s or into the 40s or something like that. That's where we need to put that thing under contract for. So when you look at that property for $100,000, when I'm selling that for $50,000, they're probably going to put $25,000 into this thing, maybe $23,000, something like that, into a property like that. So they're going to be all in for 72%-ish, $72,000 in that case, which is going to give them plenty of profit on that particular deal. So again, we're just trying to bring our end buyer in somewhere around 70 to 75% LTV on those deals, and that's the quick and dirty to get you to those formulas. Okay, so I'm going to keep going in. Yep, the wholesalingblueprint.com. That's where the webinar is going to be. Any other? Yeah, Sherry, it's very, very simple. It's very, very simple. The pricing formulas or whatnot. Any other questions? The best way to get repair cost? You can do this in a couple different ways. Okay, the best way to do it is to get real repairs from real contractors. If you don't know what a roof costs or whatnot, time will tell. Okay, time will give you that experience. But the truth of it is that all you got to do is go out there and get estimates on that property, get real contractors to go out to that property and give you estimates on it, get 3 estimates per, let the sellers know that you're going to be doing that, which is not a problem, okay? And then all you got to do is just get estimates and you'll know the real repair costs on all these things. And that's a great question, because you as a real estate wholesaler, you've got to be great at 2 things. And I didn't say good. You've got to be great at 2 things as a real estate wholesaler. You've got to be great at determining the after repair value. You got to be like as good as a property appraiser, okay, at determining an after repair value. So that's the first thing that you've got to be great, phenomenal at. The second thing that you've got to be phenomenal at as a real estate wholesaler is determining what the repairs are onto a property. It takes time to go out there and do that, but I'm telling you, those are the 2 things that you got to get good at. And again, you do not want to be one of these wholesalers that is going out there and they're just going out there and inflating the after repair value and then undercutting the repairs onto a property. You've got to have real deals here. And it all starts with the way that you're finding these deals in order to do that. But you've got to have the pricing formulas right in order to start with getting these deals. So guys, again, go to the wholesalingblueprint.com, register for that webinar that we're doing. Jeff Watson and I are doing next week, Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Again, that is 3 o'clock Central, that is 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and that is 1 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time. And again, that is going to be Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday. You want to go to the wholesalingblueprint.com in order to do that. And we're going to show you the entire blueprint for wholesalers into this business to where you will come out of that thing not having a pit into your stomach, knowing that you're wholesaling the right way, the legal way, and the more profitable way. So if you got value out of this System Saturday Live, go out there and comment in, let me know, like this video, subscribe to this channel, okay? Subscribe right here. Go out there and like this page and get the notifications every single time that we go live, and I will see you on next week's System Saturday Live. See you guys.